Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Padma Seshadri Balabhavan group of schools has carved a niche in the educational landscape of India and has a proud history that spans over 60 years. Listen to our notable alumni echoing their impactful experiences, soaked in reverence and gratitude to the legendary educationist, their loving Big Miss, Dr. Mrs. YGP, and her team of dedicated teachers. We are extremely happy that PSBB is coming out with a new video series of nostalgic interviews titled Our Glorious Aluminus. Each episode of this series will unfold our proud alumna and alumnus of PSBB, sharing their experiences at school and how these unforgettable moments shape their lives. We hope this series flashes a spotlight on PSBB's rich annals that will inspire us to rededicate ourselves to our glorious past and move towards an even more glorious and radiant future. We hope that you would enjoy listening and watching these episodes as much as we would. Thank you.
This is the classroom that I spent the last year, which is class 12 of the schooling. This is another place there, and I still distinctly remember all the other seats occupied by my classmates. These are all some fond memories of the class 12 that they always cherish.
Hello to everyone watching and welcome to a brand new episode of Our Glorious Aluminus. This is the series where we bring to you the stories of some of the wonderful high-achieving alumni of the Padma Seshadri group of schools. Today, our very special distinguished alumnus guest with us on this episode and show is Dr.S.Vaidhyasubramaniam. He is the Vice Chancellor and Tata Sons Chair of Management at Sastra, deemed to be University. Welcome, Dr. Vaidhy. Thrilled to have you with us here today.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Let me take you on a little back roll flashback, as it might be. You finished in 1992 at PSBB KK and I think you studied in PSBB KK
That's
all your life.
That's right.
From LKG to class 12.
Not from LKG, but from class 4.
From class 4 to class 12. So what's your earliest memory of the school?
Well, the earliest memory is the way in which I got the admission into the school itself. That time, the demand for good schools like PSBB was always peaking.
Right.
And, those were the times that students in and around this locality would want to study in a school of this type. So I also began my formative years. So up to class 3, I used to pass this school, wondering when I will get into the portals of this institution. So then came a chance where vacancies for admissions, and those were the days where, for every single admission, there could be a higher number of applications.
Yes.
And there were a sort of, entrance exams as well. So I did appear for an entrance examination, but what was the life-changing moment for me was one question that just twisted the final decision to my favor. Was
in an exam paper or in an interview?
In an examination paper, which was followed by an interview based on an inquisitive examiner who wanted to know why I wrote like that.
Okay.
Which was, of course, one of my favorite teachers here, Ms. J. Balambal. The question was very simple, your favorite animal. So everybody wrote
dog or cat or
different. I was the only fellow in the entire batch who wrote about a monkey. So the Then Mr. Balamba interviewed me and asked me why. So I told her that I was just coming. I went into Lord Anjaneya temple and prayed that I get admission into the school, and that the first thing that struck me was a monkey, and then I wrote about it, and that was the first experience that I will never forget. Getting into the school itself was an unforgettable experience for me.
Very interesting. What do you remember about the subjects that you used to enjoy, the teachers whose teaching you used to love when you were back in school?
Well, that's a tough question because almost all the teachers are distinguished in their own ways. So if I am asked to pick the most favorite, that will be a very difficult question to answer. But then I always have this feeling that these are the teachers who have been responsible to shape the formative careers of many students like me. And some of the names that I will never forget. Not that I have forgotten the rest, but then just that comes to the top of my mind. When, I studied here, Ms. J. Balambal used to take classes.
Right.
Likewise, Mr. Samsa Ramdas used to take classes for us. So these two are kind of the best, not in terms of picking the top two, but these are the two teachers who will never leave my thoughts. And of course, occasionally, since we are in KK Nagar, Mrs. YGP used to come here
Once in a
not as frequently as she used to go to that school, but whenever she comes here, she takes the opportunity to address a diverse class as well. So I've been also a student in that sense. So I always used to look at her as an inspirational academic institutional builder. But coming down to the academics, right from the class 4, we used to have, Ms. Mangla. Then I will never forget teachers like the English teacher. When we used to come, we had Ms. Shashikala Rao. Then up the ladder, we used to have, of course, for physics, Mrs. Jayashri. For chemistry, we had Mrs. Anuradha Sridhar. And mathematics, our own Mrs. Geeta Gupta. And then, of course, for English, again, Mrs. Malati Santanam. So these were all the names that I can never forget for the way in which they used to handle the classes and engage with the student community.
So when you look back at, you named all of these teachers who did wonderfully well, who left such impressions, on you that, 30 plus years later, we're still talking about it. What do you think was so unique about the philosophy of the school, about the teaching, all of it?
Well, the institutional philosophy is very unique. So that's one thing that has always been one of the key success factors for the PSBB group of schools. So the grounded value system to which all forms of education is rooted to makes this school stand apart from the rest. So from an institutional value system, there is a lot that this school has given to the students, including myself. And talking about me, I also include my brother and sister who also studied here. So as a family itself, we enjoyed the value system that the school was actually putting us a part of. From the teaching learning part of it, of course, most of it comes from the institutional value. But then the subject part is the way in which teachers of those years were so dedicated to the profession.
Right.
And they would ensure that no single student is left behind. And they will make sure that the class itself, though it was supposed to be in the strict sense, a teacher teaches and the student listen.
Yeah.
But then they changed the rules of the game. And that was actually ultra modern for those times.
Right.
So those were the teachers who encouraged a very lively discussion inside classroom, and these are the ones who left permanent images of a typical classroom setting that you would like to emulate if you were to become a teacher later, which happened in my case.
In your case, yeah.
Many of the teachers have and continue to be my role models because of some of the best practices inside a classroom that I have picked from them.
Encourage discussion, debate,
Very much. Very much.
all of it, critical thinking around subjects and
Yes.
so on. So you briefly touched upon it, but what are some of the things that were inculcated in you that you picked up in school which have held you in good stead even today?
Well, one thing that I will never forget is Mrs. Hamsa Ramdas used to say this, and she does this to everybody. She used to say this, no, nothing is too late and nothing is impossible. So whenever a student comes to me, even at this stage, whatever be the type of assignment that they give them or whatever is a responsibility that I give to my students, today, they come with a lot of excuses why they will not be able to do that.
Do it.
So the only thing that I tell them is, nothing is too late and nothing is impossible. The first thing that they have to do is to try, and then come with reasons why they were not able to do it. And then they realize things could have been better. And it's a learning experience for them, even if they fail. So that part has stood with me even today.
Right.
So that's the philosophical part of it. But from a pedagogical aspect, some of the style of teaching inside a classroom, making students understand by writing. You first lead the class by example. You write, don't read from notes.
Okay.
Those were the days anyway, we didn't have the PowerPoint.
Correct.
So the teachers had to rely on their power to talk to make their points without a PowerPoint. So they use their blackboard so effectively, and using blackboard effectively is itself an art.
Right.
Today, many teachers that I see, at the end of 50 minutes, I still see only 20% of the board being used. So I even ask myself the question, what is that they taught in 50 minutes? So the way in which they were able to present concepts legibly, writing it on the blackboard, making sure it gets translated into new knowledge for the students, the way in which they manage the time, those were the days where, teachers would feel that 50 minutes or 45 minutes was not adequate.
Yes.
Today, teachers are still, I'm not saying all, but still, some teachers, end up, searching for certain activities to do for the last 15 minutes as well. So that type of teacher is also there. So, but the majority of the teachers those times were of the first type where, they productively use the time for transmitting existing knowledge, creating new knowledge also inside the classroom. So that was the type of teaching, learning interactions that they had with the student. And in the process, the teachers themselves were students. So they always wanted to also learn certain new things from the students also. And those things have happened in class. But one good thing about the current education is that is also now becoming significantly happening inside the class, because students are now coming with a lot of information inside the class.
Yeah, I do know that even in a so-called regimented subject like law, you personally bring in a lot of the Indian culture, value system aspects into that subject matter, into that practice, and I know that some of that is definitely influenced by what the cultural ecosystem that Psbb gave you.
Yeah. Well, a small correction. I am not a legal academic. I am only a trespasser into the subject of law. But generally, now higher education has a lot of Indian knowledge system component inside it. And slowly we have also begun to realize that whether it's engineering or sciences or economics or management, there is a lot of Indian knowledge systems. So the Indian knowledge system cannot be just branded into a few clusters of some popular ancient wisdom. Right. So the more and more you get deep into that, there is a lot which could be even non-technical.
Right.
So the soft knowledge, which is the cultural, the civilizational asset, which is the traditional habits of lifestyle, that is also equally a bundle of knowledge that students need to know.
Right.
So that part, the culture part, definitely has been strengthened right from my school days. And that's one of the main responsibilities of the schooling ecosystem in general, that they'll have to ensure that right from the formative years of a kid's upbringing, if the soft assets of life and livelihood is deeply embedded into a student's thought process, then the job becomes simpler for people like me who are in higher education institutions to concentrate on the hard assets.
Right.
And a combination of the soft and hard is actually the most desired outcome of education that can build a country like ours.
tell me about some of the, lighter aspects. Any really funny incidents from school you can remember where you ever mischievous and caught for something?
See, mischief is an integral part of any student life, whether it is a school level or the university level. One thing that I always jocularly share, even with my own kids who studied here and one is still studying, those were the days where, uniform and all of this were like sacrosanct. We had, when we assembled for the prayer in here,
Morning assembly.
we had a platoon of teachers there waiting to catch you. If you're not in proper uniform, you had it. You just cannot, escape.
Correct.
And those were the times where, it was a rush for reaching the school on time. So because not only not in proper uniform, even late is also, this kind. So you were like hammered from all sides. So there are a lot of occasions where you miss a belt or you don't tuck your shirt, or then you come with a black shoe when it is supposed to be white shoe, or you come with a Monday shirt and a Tuesday trouser. So all those combinations happen. And maybe I was one of those very, I shouldn't say the mischievous few, but the forgetful few who end up with all these, all possible permutation and combinations in the uniform, that not in proper uniform scene page in my diary, that itself got over. So then the principal that time said, okay, if the space in the diary itself has gotten over, now what can I do? So you better come in proper uniform. I can only plead with you.
How about your batchmates from that time, the 92 batch? Are you all still close? Do you meet?
Yeah, we are very much, we have our own group. In fact, a few years back, the 25th reunion of our batch happened in this school.
Okay.
And it started off with a morning session with Mrs. YGP. So we all came here. And then we had one class session in the Silver Jubilee Hall, where we had the maths teacher, the arts teacher, the English teacher taking us class, teaching us a few things, and we were asked to participate. So we had a live classroom session inside the class, then met teachers, then followed up with a dinner in the evening outside, where we invited teachers also. So yes, we are as a group still in touch, and we also at times talk about our school days, and many of those who have their kids also studying in the school. So it's not
Psbb parents.
Yeah, so it's not just as a student alumni. We are also a parent group. So it's a mini parent as a alumni associations also. As a group, we are connected with each other. So we still maintain that continuum in relationship.
How is that? In fact, I wanted to ask you that. How was that experience of being a PSBB parent? When you were a kid versus your kids, what difference do you see?
Yeah, I could see a lot of difference. One thing we can relate, and I also have the advantage of being an academic also.
Right.
So I can relate with the thought process behind the rule making. And today, if students come and crib at home and say, these are the rules that I don't like, it's easy for me to explain on two counts. One, that I was a student before, and now I am a teacher as well. So I have the benefit of explaining it to them in both perspectives, and which is required. And on that count, many parents can relate to their personal experiences being a student here. And some of the teachers who are here today were teachers during we were studying as well.
Absolutely.
So, they know, the genuine intent behind the way in which certain things happen in school. So we are not easily carried away by the gossip or, some show of deviance to certain types of
Norms that are there.
Yeah, so this is part of the upbringing of a kid. And we always have this feeling that there is a genuine intent behind certain activities that needs to be followed by students.
The last couple of questions. I know you were personally very close to Mrs. YGP, and you kind of idolized her like we all did. But I think you got a chance to kind of work with her closely as well, and so on. Tell us a little bit about how important has she been in your life, and what impression has she left on you? The lasting impressions that she's left.
A lot, and if I have to cherry pick on a few, one is the personality of the person. who wanted to be a source of multidimensional inspiration, not only as a teacher. I mean, she could experiment her skills in more than one profession, if I can call it so. Not only as a teacher, she was an expert in when it comes to arts, and then when it comes to dance. I mean, dance is also a form of an art, but various forms of arts, then leadership skills, administration, and despite her age, she had that willpower. So the personality skills that many used to watch her in close proximity. I mean, these are things that are lifelong lessons for anybody.
So a final question to you, rather, it's a request to you to leave some thoughts with the people who are watching this show, which is largely our current PSBB students, their parents, and of course alumni like us. So
even prospective students to PSBB as well. See, I've always felt that there are two important perspectives to an educational institution: the age and size of the institution. An old school, and by size, not only the brick and mortar or the physical infrastructure, but the way in which they project themselves to the outside world. So the age and size, if I were to take these two as the two dimensions of how I evaluate a school, PSBB to me is an old and small school. Old because it carries itself a legacy that it is always proud of, and on a year-on-year basis, the legacy gets enriched. Small because it doesn't, show it off.
Right.
They do. They conceal big ideals. They remain small, but they conceal big ideals. And that is actually, the wonderful job that the school is doing. And the other extreme, you have new schools, young schools and big ones.
Of course.
So young because we are relatively young.
They just
big, they showcase small things. So they might be big, but what they showcase are small things which are not that really great for a schooling ecosystem. So I've always felt that being big and small, the way in which you understand what big and small is, really makes the difference than being young and showing off big. So PSBB, in my view, falls in first category,
small category
of an institution that carries a legacy with it, not showing it off, and hence it is small, but concealing in itself larger ideals of life.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that very candid and very interesting conversation. And it's very nice to hear from practicing academic who also kind of remembers and cherishes his time at an institution like ours. Thank you very much, Dr. Vaidhy. We definitely hope to keep interacting with you at PSBB.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you.